All right, welcome to my FX Buddies, the podcast. Yes, I'm talking lower than normal. It's really late here, but I have to do this now or it won't get done. So I apologize. Please turn up your volume. Maybe listen when you're in a quiet place, okay? But I've turned up everything I can. All right, so today's not even a fun one, okay? I still have to do this and it's not even fun. It's another one, information, but it is what it is, okay? So, welcome if you're new. I don't normally talk this low. I do talk low and I talk slow. So, I do this every now and then. I try to remind you guys, if you go to a YouTube video, don't do that one. Here, let's do this one. And you click this gear right here. And you hit playback speed. You can speed up. And I like to do 1.75. But most people tell me 1.5 is good for them. When they listen to me and they speed me up, 1.5, then you just play and it plays a little faster and it saves you a little time, okay? And I have no problem. You have my permission to do that, okay? All right. So, as usual, I suggest you go to the blog to get the information because all the articles are there. The complete article for free, okay? And yeah, so the way you get there is, well, I'm going to skip that for time's sake and just tell you, wherever you are engaging with this content, look for a prompt of more info, intro, description, something of that nature. You click on that, another box or something opens, drops down, whatever, and you look for the link. It either says link to my FX Buddies blog or you'll see the link. It'll be the HTTPS with the blue, you click that and you're there. You're on the blog, the free blog. You don't have to put your email in, no fee, nothing. You click that link and you're there on the blog and you can look at the articles and look, here's yesterday's, here's the day before. You can see I have my whole history of articles. You want to go back to 2023, click there, right? So, yeah, and it's all free. Okay? All right. So, we're going to get into this. The title, Can Iraq Save the Dinar? Oil Power versus Economic Reform. So, even though there's nothing today about 3 zeros or whatever, no exciting titles, there's still multiple articles about purchasing power. Here, this one's going to talk about the dinar value. So, don't sleep on these boring titles. I know sometimes people just want to click on things that have a bunch of money on the thumbnail or the title. And that's a trap, you guys. You get those Chase Bank exchanging $6.78. That's a trap, right? So, yes, my titles are boring, my thumbnails are cheesy, but I'm not trapping you, right? I'm showing you the information that they're showing to the citizens, okay? All right. So, the Iraqi economy is in a new test, the decline of the dinar, and the challenges of oil hegemony. So, they're still pretty much most of their income, revenue, whatever comes from oil, right? The Iraqi dinar is suffering from increasing pressures, represented recently by its loss of about 5% of its value late in 2024. So they call that recent. In light of internal and external challenges, most notably the decline in cash reserves, the rise in demand for the dollar in parallel markets, and excessive reliance on oil revenues. So this is a study done at this, right, UK Okay, they believe the decline of the dinar is partly linked to the failure of some banks to adhere to regulatory rules. So guess what they got? They got a copy of the Oliver Wyman paper, right? How would they know? I mean, other than reading the article, right? So, here, so they talk about all the dollar smuggling tied to the neighbor, right? It says right here, the neighbor, and leniency in dealing with sanctions imposed on Tehran, reduced the availability of the dollar in the Iraqi market, which led to an increase in its value against the dinar. So they still do parallel market prices every day, 3 times a day, morning, midday, night, or evening when they close, right? And right now they're about 1406 to like 1430. So, all right, this crisis, so it says a parallel market destroys confidence, right? Let's see, do I want to read that? Worrying future repercussions. So now here's a different person. Rakabi. You know what? It might be the same person. He highlighted another dilemma, which is the lack of trust between citizens and the banking system, noting that about 98 trillion Iraqi dinars are traded outside the banking system. That might be an old number, right? But they go back and forth. 85, 90, right? So worrying future repercussions. If there's a continued decline of the dinar, it could lead to inflation and rising prices. So this might be a little behind. I don't think it is, though, because they're talking about the banks not being approved, not doing business the way that Oliver Wyman wants them to, right? And we've seen articles where they're saying inflation is down, and the people are complaining about the rising prices. So that's already happening, right? All right, so then they go down to talk about Mohammed Saleh. He stresses that currency stability requires coordination with the CBI and the government. So, all things that we know, but this is coming from the UK, right? And then what did I show you yesterday? The UK was praising Iraq for their moving from the security recovery phase to economic growth phase, right? Yeah. So there. At the conclusion of his speech, this is another person, stressed that building a diversified economy capable of generating hard currency from non-oil sectors is the only way to protect the dinar from market and political fluctuations. All right, here, you could read this. Now, Ali Alak has written a book. Actually, I think he has 2 books. But if you want to read about that, I'm sure he's had an exciting career, right? Watching all the changes made. Here he talks about the Financial Action Task Force. Yeah, so that's interesting. It's usually Samir al-Nasari who's the book writer. But Ali Alak, he wrote a book. And there you could read about it if you'd like. Now here's another kind of like report type of article. The central bank develops the structure of external financial transfers, a decisive step against manipulation and smuggling. So in a new effort to limit foreign currency smuggling and regulate foreign trade, the CBI has taken a decisive step, right? They issued that over the weekend. So they go back to when they changed the rate down to 13.20. They talk about financing foreign trade continues through banks in accordance with parallel mechanisms in force in countries around the world. So that's those other banks, right? Mostly Jordanian banks and Arab Gulf banks. they get to do the work that Iraqi banks should be doing, right? But can't because they're still found to be smuggling and the like. So that's what this is talking about. There's a new circular issued, remember? So they put this out over the weekend. All right. Now here again, does this look familiar to you? It should. Tabadur. That's how they say it too. So the securities guy, is this picture here? No, there's a couple of articles out. I just chose this one. The Securities Commission announced its approval of the membership requirements for Iraqi brokerage companies to enter trading via the, now here it says Tadawul platform in the Abu Dhabi securities market. And this must be a new stage, a second stage or something, because we've done this before. I've seen this before, and they've talked about it before, but for some reason, it says here also, this approval comes within a series of strategic steps that enhance the position of the ISX as a promising investment destination. So, yeah, just moving forward, doing more steps, right? Private banks will be made more difficult to renew their licenses for the new year. This is a result of what? The Oliver Wyman report, right? So banks are required to have a capital size of more than 350 billion dinars and not less than 400 billion dinars by, look, there's no date there. Why is the date not there? And it's not just me that deleted it. It's not there. It's not in the article. So, but I'm not going to complain. Hey, I've been wanting this information, right? So, it says, due to tough U.S. demands and conditions, the Iraqi Central Bank has announced a comprehensive banking reform process. U.S. financial advisory firm Oliver Wyman is overseeing process under the direct supervision of the U.S. Treasury and the Federal Reserve and J.P. Morgan. So we still are watching them. All right, and there's the main requirements if you'd like to read that. All right, so here is the best ways to support my FX buddies if you'd like. When this blog is live, this will be a live link that goes to buy me a coffee. Cash App is live all the time, and my tag there is $Tish Wash, and I reply with the praise hands, so that way you know I got it. And then PayPal is Tish Wash. Big or small, I appreciate it all, and thank you in advance for your generosity. Okay, so let's see. Here's more talk about the 2026 budget, and they're saying talk about the 2026 budget is imaginary. It's going to be a new government, a new prime minister, so why are you guys even pretending that you're talking about the 2026 budget? Basically, that's what this says. So, of course, it's written by a member of parliament, the haters, right? But by the time we get to the end of this, you're going to see there's some serious moves. They made a serious move today. The framework, okay, so we'll get to it, to fight against Sudani and our president. So that guy that they assigned, yeah, he must be good at what he does, because they made the framework and Iran made a move in response to that guy being assigned, okay? But anyway, so here, for those of you who like to follow this port thing, this ITR thing, there's an article. Look, and they even got it wrong. And now it's TYR instead of ITR, but 52,000 trucks have gone through there or something, whatever. So for those of you who like that, you could read that. Okay, Sudani and Marco Rubio, they had a conversation on the phone, another one. And Sadani says, when we talk, I want to talk unilaterally. I don't like these actions you take outside of the framework of communication and consultation. So I think, hey, he's right about that. Why do you have to third party and send stuff through other people? I mean, I always say that they could get more done and more done quickly with direct communication. Don't send a message through someone who just recently visited. But, phones are tapped and things, so they gotta do what they gotta do, right? But it seems like there's 3 or 4 articles here. And each one has a little bit of detail that the other one does not. But it comes down to this right here. I can't, I forgot. When it's not live, I can't highlight it. But if you're reading along with me, we want Sadani to take the pew-pews, right? Pew-pew. From the Iranian-backed, I shouldn't have said that either, but oh well, factions that undermine Iraq's sovereignty. And I'm sure we've given them names, right? Which ones specifically? Yeah, so this was all in their news. This was big news today over there. Also, something's going on with Russia and Marco Rubio, right? And our president is delaying putting out further meeting with Russia's president. I don't know if it was a result of the talks that I saw them showing on TV, but yeah, a lot of their news today covered other people's news. So here's another little bit. The factions are plundering state resources for the benefit of the neighbor. And that's why we want you to take their pew-pews. So I don't know if this is going to be a holdup. I don't know if it's a new development. I know it is something that's been an ongoing conversation, right? They wanted the popular forces to be put on the back burner, right? Right? Our State Department did not want the popular forces legitimized. They did that. Iraq agreed to that. Yeah, so, I don't know. But at the end of the phone call with Sadani, they call him Minister Rubio, but he's secretary. He's got 4 different jobs, right? But he stressed Washington's commitment to working closely with the Iraqis to promote common interests. Yeah. So we don't want the neighbor to plunder you. We want to plunder you, okay? All right. So the title of this is Iraqi Association in Michigan reveals the agenda of the U.S. President's envoy to Baghdad. So this is the guy here. This is the name of his company, Leaf and Bud. That's the name of his company. So part of his mission is to underscore, wait, no, that's not it, sorry. The Iraqi issue is thorny and involves numerous economic and political issues and numerous problems, including loose pew-pews and the unauthorized forces, right? Even the U.S. President himself has said that Iraq has a lot going for it, but Iraqis don't know how to capitalize on it, So that's the oil, right? Let's see. The U.S. Treasury has imposed sanctions on a number of Iraqi individuals and banks, demonstrating that the U.S. is deeply involved in Iraq's political landscape. And there's a little bit more there. So this is a good article to read, okay? Because this is a new development. And somewhere in here it talks about his mission. But anyway, America also wants to preserve its own interests because it wants to present Iraq as a model to be emulated. Iraq needs aid and assistance from the U.S. and the international community after the entry of those groups that we took out, right? And the other that was before them. The state's lack of control over the groups, the unofficial forces, and the neighbors' influence. So, yeah. So, he got appointed. His name is Mark Saleh. That's his American name, though, because he is Iraqi Chaldean. Okay. Alright, so just after 2 days of Trump seeing Sadani and saying, here's the man with all the oil, but he doesn't know what to do with it, Mark Saleh is appointed Special Envoy. Special Envoy means here's some of the things that have been said. They are there for a specific reason, a specific time frame. They are outside of the regulations and rules of an ambassador, right? There was one thing that said this will be a way for the U.S. president to get a direct line of information faster. So here's a snippet of this. It says, the U.S. president, so some people were offended by him saying, here's the man with all the oil, right? Oh, you know what? Oh, okay, this article right here, it's a very weird translation. I don't know why it's translated this way. Here's the title. Warning, congratulations, then envoy. The U.S. president reopens the Iraqi file in his own way. Now, in here they say the Iraqi file had been closed for 10 years. And doesn't it seem like it had? Right? There was nothing going on for 10 years. And then all of a sudden, the last, 3-4 years has been a lot. So maybe it was just put on the back burner. But, so, warning, if you read this article, you're going to have to really read it like this right here. At home, white. No additional statements were made explaining what the U.S. president meant. So this means White House. See that? This at home white means at the White House. The U.S. president said, right? So that's what I mean by a weird translation. Okay. So the statement that he said at the summit, but many read in his words that they were beyond a passing rebuke. Now that made sense the way I just said it, but the words are jumbled up. I've been reading these articles long enough that I can unjumble them. Okay? That's sad. Anyway, so they said, well, but it wasn't an attack. Rather a call to redefine the relationship with Baghdad from an economic perspective, perhaps also an indirect message to Tehran that Washington still has cards. Don't count us out, right? We're not giving up. That's our colony, not yours. So there's more here if you want to read that. But so he's described, Mark Saleh is described as a special phase envoy. His mission will focus on the oil files, financial reform, while curbing the power of the factions with pew-pews near the neighbor. So in Baghdad, what they're saying is the U.S. president simply wants a more watchful eye, which in a roundabout way is he doesn't trust the eyes that are there, right? But he trusts this guy. So yeah, but it's good. The Iraqi file is moving forward, right? So take that. We're still in optimistic October, right? So it's very, to me, reading this article is very encouraging, which is why I put it here. And for those of you who will take the time to read it and not get frustrated because the words are out of order, it's encouraging. I think we're almost done, right? And trust me, when I tell you the next part, you're going to need some encouragement. Okay, so they even mentioned, yeah, we know Joshua Harris is here, but he's downplaying the management of managing Iraq. And the U.S. president in his second term, which he's in right now, says it's important. Management works through a team of professionals that focuses to make America safer, stronger, and more prosperous. A vision reflected in partnerships. So, a bilateral agreement that meets the needs of both countries. So, maybe our position was weakening, right? And the U.S. president got in and said, hey, nope, this isn't good. Yeah, okay, so there's more to that, but we have to move on. So here, in speaking to the president of India, the prime minister of India, the U.S. president said, we have peace in the Middle East now, and we look forward to further success. So the Modi, right, he's very interesting. Modi's trying to play ball with everyone. And you can't do that, right? But he's trying. Okay, so here, if you remember in yesterday's report, I said that Sadani announced some of our troops are staying behind as advisors. Well, today, the Kurdish president, he told his troops the same thing. Delivered the news this morning. Yeah, you guys are doing a good job, but Sadani said we're going to keep some of the international coalition. See right here? Let me make this a little larger. Maintaining border security, the conditions of border crossings, especially those on the border between Iraq and Syria, the tasks of the international coalition will end in September 2026, but for now, we're going to keep some here. All right? So we're going to skip this. No. So this is the beginning. So the whole world knows Mark Zavia is on his way to, you know what? I'm missing an article. There's an article of Sadani and Mark shaking hands. And I don't know if it's old or new. So pause. I'm going to pause here. All right. And look at that. With the magic of pause. So here, and I can't tell if this is recent or old. And there's an article, but I ran out of time, because like I said, Tuesdays are really long days for me. So I'm going to try to find out if the guy is already in Iraq and if he's already met with Sudani. Or he quite possibly could have met with, Sudani could have met with this guy, Mark, when he was here one time. But I'm thinking he's probably already there, right? Okay, so just give me 2 more minutes. Okay, 3. 2 more minutes to cover this and a minute to close. All right? Look who's here. But first, before we hear, the coordination framework is the one that determines the next prime minister. The coordination framework is full of politicians that are Iranian backed. If we know it, Iraq knows it, Sudani knows it, everybody knows they are Iranian backed. But they are in Iraq's government, including our friend Maliki, right? So that's not good. They're like, yeah, we got this, and we're not voting for Sudani. So they bring that Mark guy. Now guess who shows up? Kaani. Remember and he's got some 9 lives. Remember at first they thought they took him out? But then like 3 weeks later, looky here, I'm still alive. So, yeah, he's there. And here's the title of the article. Elections and the second term, Kaani intervenes to contain a heated dispute between the framework leaders. Because guess what? Some of them want Sudani. I think 1 or 2 of them want Sudani for a second term, but the others do not. So he's the commander of the Quds Force of the Neighbors Revolutionary Guard during his recent visit to Iraq to offer condolences to remember Sistani, the supreme holy man. Remember his wife passed? And Kaani came and he met with them then, right? So, and here's another article about him. On an unannounced visit, Kaani meets with political and the Pew Pew leaders, the leaders of the factions with Pew Pews in Baghdad. So, if the next couple of days we see people giving up their Pew Pews, that will look good for Sudani, in my opinion, which is why you listen, right? Because you want to know what I'm thinking, right? So, I don't like this development. This is a recent development, but they must be weak. They must feel that they're not going to get their way because they're bringing in a heavy hitter. He's a heavy hitter, right? So I'm wanting it to be a good thing. And like I said, if maybe this week or early next week we see some of them turning in their Pew Pews, then it's good. If we don't, then I don't know. Maybe it's not. All right? So that's it. Okay. Thank you again. I know your time is valuable, and so is mine. So I wanted to do this because tomorrow's Wednesday. I think we might get a lot more news. And you know how I hate trying to cram in 2 days worth. Oh, and I also found a nice little report. Nope, that's not it. But you know what? I lost it. Oh no, I know where it is. It's right here. It's very interesting. Looting and loyalty money. How did the financial budget become a tool for power sharing? But I need to read it more. You know how I am. I don't like posting things if I don't feel prepared to discuss it, right? So I'll be studying that tomorrow, and maybe it'll be in the update, maybe it won't. All right. Hit the thumbs up. The thumbs up. Thank you. And someone had said something about that doesn't help you get paid. what that does, it tells YouTube, hey, this is a good video and more people want to see it. So you should push it out there so people can see it. It's the views. So many views, and it's crazy. But anyway, whatever. But I thank you. I thank you for watching. And like I said, this one was boring, but very interesting, right? So thank you. Accumulate while we wait for the rate to appreciate. Don't miss any meals. Pay all your bills. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your morning, night, noon, whatever time frame you are indulging in this content. And until tomorrow.